this is my niche field. As mentioned, I did used to be a chef. I came out 2.5 years ago and quit my job as a chef because I had a high following on Instagram and I wanted to work in the tourism industry and I wanted to leverage my followers to travel. So my name is Lauren EP Bath on Instagram. My Twitter handle is the same for those that aren't following me. And I have over 400,000 followers on Instagram now. And just so that you have a little bit of background about me, some of the clients that I'm working for include international tourism boards, PR companies, local, regional and provincial tourism boards, as well as tourism operators and brands. So I have 100 plus campaigns to my name in the last 2.5 years of full-time work. I'm probably one of the most experienced tourism Instagrammers in the world. So that's my background. I'm not going to talk too much about traditional versus new media, mainly because I'm not an expert on traditional media and everybody here is, and I don't want to sound like a dummy. But I will say that new media for me means that you can be a little bit freer with your content, with your conversations. You can be more open, you can be more fun. Again, it's that two-way conversation that we've heard spoken about so much today. So I'm just going to get right into it because I've only got half an hour, and anyone that's heard me speak before knows that I do tend to talk a lot. I'll try not to go off on too many tangents. But why Instagram? I don't really have to talk too much about why you should be using Instagram because I think that every DMO here knows now the value of the platform, how quickly it's growing, how many people are using it, and how engaging and fun the platform is. What I do want to talk about is how I see DMOs and destinations working with Instagram to create such a fun hype about their destination. And it all comes down to curating content, we've talked about that today, having two-way conversations, strategically picking out the things that you want to share, and most importantly, keeping it very organic, keeping it very real to life, real people, real experiences, tapping into user-generated content, and just creating a very interesting, open and natural story about your destination. And I think that using Instagram well can actually rise these destinations up through the ranks in popularity, and I've seen it happen with some of the clients that I've worked for. I'm going to go very quickly into two little case studies. People that I see using Instagram, clients of mine. So this is Travel Alberta. I've been very fortunate to work with Alberta 4 times in the last 2 years, working with Nancy Smith and the team over there. The thing that I love about Travel Alberta is that they started on Instagram with negligible followers like everybody. In about 2 years, they've grown to over 200,000 followers, and their user-generated content, the way that they curate it, and the experiences that they share are so amazing, and they really put people in the spot and in the destination. So Instagram is great for sharing things that you might not know about a destination. For example, a lot of people don't know that you can see the aurora in Canada and in the Rocky Mountains in Alberta. And this is some of the content that Alberta has shared, user-generated. And to me, it's a lot less commercial, it's a lot more organic and engaging than seeing commercial photography. Another thing that I do know, having spoken to a lot of people, is that when people are thinking of planning a holiday, they'll often do a hashtag search on the destination, the hotels they plan to stay at, the operators that they plan to go to, and the experiences they plan to have, so that they can see what it really looks like as opposed to what it looks like on the website. So they're looking for real content. I talked to Nancy the other day and just asked her for a quick quote. Sorry, my screen is here so I can refer to it. Nancy said, "Instagram is a key platform for Travel Alberta. It checks all of the boxes for me as a destination marketer. Awareness and opportunity to reach new audiences are a natural outcome, but we have had many conversion success stories too. The growth of our fan base to over 220,000 in 2 years is a testament to our highly engaged community." That was from Nancy Smith, Travel Alberta. And this is one of the shots that I took in Alberta, and I just wanted to briefly touch on this because it's a great example of how an operator, and we've heard that a little bit today, how an operator can affect a destination and help them to do really well on social media. This is a Yamnuskow wolf dog sanctuary. They're an amazing operator out of Calgary. They basically take wolf dogs in and help to raise them when they've been abandoned by their homes. And she invites people into the establishment to meet with the wolf dogs and interact with them and take pictures, which obviously look so beautiful and go so well on social media and have helped Calgary and then obviously Alberta and Canada to have great content around that destination. Another one that I want to talk about that might be a little bit more relevant to some of the smaller DMOs here is Explore Inari. This is a very small provincial tourism board in Finnish Lapland, northern Finnish Lapland. I first worked with this DMO about a year ago. I did a campaign with Visit Finland, which turned into a much bigger campaign this year because the tourism board in Inari just loved what I was doing so much, and they wanted to do something around the Northern Lights. So you can imagine this is a small regional tourism board in Finland. They don't have a lot of budget. They started to use Instagram around the time that I first visited, and one of the biggest things that they're pushing is that there's so much more to the destination than what you think about when you think about Finland. And one of the biggest things is the Northern Lights. This is something that we don't often associate with that destination. So some of the user-generated content that they're using on their Instagram account is obviously around that, but also other things that people might not associate with Finland or with Northern Lapland. For me, that's reindeer farming, reindeer herding, but also their indigenous population, the Sami, and their ties to the land and their ties to the reindeer. This is something that a traditional marketing campaign probably wouldn't be able to push out to enough people, but using social media, you can share these stories using user-generated content. I talked to Taria recently about the campaign that we did. She gave me a great quote. The reason for the recent Instagram trip, which was a 3-person campaign in March, she said that Northern Lights in the northernmost Finnish Lapland are not as well known as in Norway and Iceland, and the biggest reason is that we have been in the Stone Age in marketing. So she is owning up to the fact that they are really behind with social media, but they want to change that. This is a shot of me under the Northern Lights as well. So we were really lucky to actually get that because, as you can imagine, it's very weather dependent, and we were only there for just under a week. So continuing talking about Instagram in the tourism industry, I see it as a big chain of command. And if everybody's using Instagram, which I think we can agree that most people are these days, everybody can benefit from the sharing of content and helping to hype destinations up. So to me, it starts at a ground level with people that live in a destination, ordinary people. This woman here, her name is Kaz. She is just an ordinary person that works full-time. Luckily enough, she works at Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary. And if you're on Instagram, you've no doubt seen photographs of her shared on Visit Gold Coast or This is Queensland or See Australia, because she's regularly picked up due to the quality of her content. She's not getting paid for any of this. She loves it. She loves Instagram. And people nurture that relationship with her because of how often she's putting great content up. Coming up from Kaz, we're looking at influencers or influential Instagrammers. So an influential Instagrammer is somebody that has a larger following, somebody that's getting a lot of engagement on their account. And if they're living in your area, it definitely pays to touch base with these people, encourage them to use your hashtag, and offer them incentives to share content around the destination. This is my friend Jules Lynch, and she does a lot of campaigns with me. She lives in Snapper Rocks, and even though she travels full-time for work, she's regularly using the hashtags for Gold Coast, Queensland and Australia, even when she's at home. Coming up from Instagrammers or influential Instagrammers are operators. And operators to me are a very key part of the puzzle. And I think it's very important to educate our operators into the importance of social media and the importance of Instagram as a part of their overall social strategy. Because these guys are the ones that are in there day in, day out, having access to some of the best content. Whale watching tours, we can go out and not see a single whale, not see a single breach. But a company like Spirit of Gold Coast are out there every day with photographers on board, capturing great content. And if the DMOs can encourage these people to be using Instagram and using their hashtag and sharing the content frequently, everybody can benefit from that. Coming up from Spirit of Gold Coast is Visit Gold Coast, the regional tourism board for the Gold Coast, and I know Alistair is in the audience today. So Visit Gold Coast is doing exceptionally well for an RTO here in Australia. We're at nearly 70,000 followers now, and they're using the same formula. They're getting content from regular everyday people, influencers that live in the area, and operators that are using Instagram as well. And they're curating all of that content and putting it out very regularly and consistently. Of course, Queensland, the state that we're in, good to see so many Tourism Queensland people here. I've done heaps and heaps of work with Tourism Queensland. And again, it's a very basic formula. But one thing that Tourism Queensland do really well is that they do educate operators on social media, and they put together great webinars and great conferences and things like that to let people know how to use these platforms. So Tourism Queensland have access to a huge amount of content, and as I said before, it's all about curating that content and making a great conversation out of it. And if you just go up from Queensland, you can see Australia, and you might have noticed that they had one kangaroo picture that was the same. I think Queensland picked it up first, and then Australia picked it up from Queensland. And we are fortunate enough in this country that Tourism Queensland is one of the most followed countries in the whole world on social media. So they're setting such a great example to all of the STOs and RTOs and operators and influencers and Instagrammers and regular people to use the platform well, which has made Australia such a popular destination in the media. So of course I am going to talk about working with Instagrammers because that's what I'm all about. I think that as well as running social media really well and running Instagram well yourself, I think that Instagrammers bring a lot to the table with your destination and with the content that they can bring about in your destination. So what we bring is obviously destination awareness. So we're talking about your destination through the posts that we do on Instagram and on social media. We're also providing you with social media content, which, as we can all agree, everybody's screaming out for great content all the time. And another thing that we do is drive traffic. So we're encouraging people to follow across to your assets, follow you, and hopefully stay with you so that you can continue to feed content out to them long after the influencer has left the region. This is something that I hear coming up, and I know Tourism Queensland's talking about this a lot lately. Influencers that are going from destination to destination to destination. Yes, it's true. For me, I can be in 2 or 3 places in 1 week. But what I'm hoping to do is to leave each destination that I work with a whole stack of great content, lots of people following them, and lots of talk about the destination that hopefully will carry on. So what does an Instagrammer bring to the table apart from that? Just getting more into the specifics. So they have an established audience. They have a unique photography style, not commercial. Repartee and banter and two-way conversations with their audience. A lighter touch and an opportunity to joke and do things a little bit less seriously. And an Instagrammer is their own brand. And I'm going to talk about each of those in turn. An established audience. I personally look at it like this. If I want to go and travel, if I want to go to a different destination, the people that I trust the most are obviously my friends and family. I think we can all agree that word of mouth definitely rates the highest when you're thinking of traveling. So what I try and do with my community online is establish relationships and trust with my followers and my community. So for that reason, I believe that an established audience, an audience that's grown organically over a period of years and not rushed, somebody like myself, I'm very open with my community. I talk to them a lot. There's a lot of conversations and replying to comments. I think that that rates really highly in what an Instagrammer can bring to the table. I'll also say that consistent growth signifies organic growth. And towards the end of my slideshow, I will talk a little bit about the ugly side of Instagram and the cheating and give you some tools on how to spot that. I talked about a unique photography style. Keep in mind every slide that I'm showing you today, apart from the screenshots, this is all my photography. So not having to go in and do commercial photography, not having a shot list or anything specific that I need to shoot, definitely helps me to do amazing content. And the funny thing about my photography is that it has grown through my use of social media. So I'm very in tune to what my community loves to see, and I like to dish out a lot of that, because the more engaged people are with my content, the more likely they are to actually read the captioning, maybe go over and follow the destination that I'm promoting, and perhaps even store that information away and think about traveling to that place. As well, I like to photograph a little bit of everything, but always thinking about what I know will get the engagement. I talked about repartee and banter. I love to comment on Instagram. I love the people that I've been with for 4 years on the platform. I'm actually 4 years in August on Instagram. I love the relationships that I have there, the jokes and running jokes that I have with various people. People that I've never heard of before asking me questions about a destination or my work or even my photography equipment. I think that what an Instagrammer can bring, and this is a little different to traditional media, is the fact that we can have an open, two-way, funny, engaging conversation during a social media campaign. A lighter touch. This shot was actually taken in Dubai, and the reason I took this shot was because we were out in the desert looking for oryx, and we were unable to find any. So I wanted to post a picture of the desert to my followers to talk about it. and we couldn't find any oryx, so Mark Clinton, who's another Instagrammer you might have heard of, strapped a couple of sticks to his head and pretended to be an oryx in the desert. So this is something that you would never see in a brochure. You would never see this in a commercial photography arrangement with a tourism board. But as an influencer, I was able to do this, set the shot up and have a real laugh about it and have a conversation with my followers about that and about oryx as well. And finally, I am my own brand. So what an Instagrammer or an influencer brings to the table is the fact that their audience is very invested with their journey, their brand, their stories, their images, their content, and putting yourself in the picture helps people to relate to the destination. This is a little slide I put together in New Zealand. It's only 15 seconds for Instagram. And can I just say that I absolutely love New Zealand as well. Oh, sound. There's actually a Bon Jovi song that goes with it. Let's see if we can play it again. Well, if you want to see that with the Bon Jovi song later, just let me know. So hiring an Instagrammer, this is obviously a massive concern for tourism boards and something that I do talk about a lot with all of my clients. These are some tips on what you should be looking for when you're looking to hire an influencer to come into your region to help with your Instagram strategy. So engagement over followers. And I read a great article that was retweeted today. Don't ever look at just the total followers. You want to look at the engagement, the likes and the comments on the content that's going up. The comments and the vibe. So for me, again, I mentioned an influencer is somebody that's actually has a relationship with their community. So seeing them commenting regularly and having a relationship with their community rates very highly for me. Accountability and approachability. I don't have time to go into it today, but I do KPIs for my clients. I am working on trying to put some sort of a media value against what I do, which will hopefully lead to ROIs. Social media is never going to lead to conversion the way a lot of people want it to. But if you do want to come and ask me later about how I do this, I'd be happy to share the information. Approachability, how easy it is to get in touch with that influencer, ask them questions, how quickly they come back to you on email to really set your mind at ease on hiring them. Quality of images, quality of content, very important. Not just how good it looks, but how good it represents the destination and your brand and how you feel that they would fit in with you. For example, I would never hire a black and white minimalist photographer to come in and promote tourism, no matter how great their engagement is. Experience in the industry. This is not everything. Everybody needs to start somewhere, and if nobody gave me a chance when I had no experience, I wouldn't be here today. But I think experience can be very powerful and beneficial if you're a tourism board, especially one that hasn't done much before and you want to bring influencers in. And industry knowledge and services. I didn't want this presentation to be exclusively about me and the work that I do, but because I was Australia's first professional Instagrammer, a lot of the systems and services that I put in place have become a bit of an industry standard. So these are some of the things that I offer that a lot of influencers now in Australia are offering. And if you were thinking to hire Instagrammers, it's something to, I guess, compare against. So I do 3 to 4 Instagram posts every day, and I'm accompanying each one in the caption with my clients at username, hashtag, and a geotag. The reason for this is because I'm trying to put the destination into my caption as many times as possible, also trying to drive traffic, and the usage of the hashtag is encouraging people to also use the hashtag, and of course to know what the hashtag is for that destination. I make all of my images available already edited in high resolution, square Instagram crop, and a Facebook resize. These are for my clients to use on all of their social media platforms forever, as long as I'm credited. And in addition to that, I do sell joint copyright on my images, but I sell them very cheaply as a part of my overall marketing package. I use other social media platforms, and although Instagram is my highest, I do have over 200,000 followers across Facebook, Stella, Trover, and Google+. So that brings a little bit of extra value to the table as well for those that aren't using just Instagram. I do a marketing workshop for every new client because I talked about how I like to drive traffic. I like to use my client's asset in my caption. So what my followers or my community are going to do, first of all, is they're going to go and check that @username and decide if they also want to follow the destination. And we did hear about this today. You should be giving people what they want to see, not what you want them to see. So if my clients have a great Instagram account with relevant content and they're very engaged and it's fun and interesting and pretty, then more people will follow them off the back of my campaign or my attendance in the destination. So I offer this workshop to try and get people up to speed with how to run a good Instagram account so that they can get the best results from my visit and the best takeaway, even though 2 days later I'm in another destination. I also do a little report. My report has reach, impressions, that's likes and comments counted up, a little bit of feedback on the campaign, and basically just a few takeaways for my clients. And I also do a lot of PR opportunities. And taking any and all PR for me is like adding even more value to my client. And of course, this is traditional media, so it is measurable, and it does all add up to make my services more valuable. And finally, I offer project management, ambassadorships, and education. So now I want to talk just quickly about the ugly side of Instagram. This is something that I haven't had to talk about too much in the past, but it is becoming very, very prevalent in the industry. And I know tourism boards, influencers, brands that are actually cheating on Instagram. And to me, it's really sad. It's damaging to the industry. It's damaging to the long-term career that I want to have using Instagram as my primary platform. So I want to give you the tools to spot this and show you what's actually out there on the market at the moment. So this was literally 2 minutes of research. I Googled buy Instagram followers and buy Instagram likes, and I found a couple of sites. This is Instabuyagram. You can buy both followers and likes. So what people will do is they'll buy the followers, but just so that you can't be fooled by that, they'll buy the likes so that the engagement looks on par. You can also these days buy automated liking systems. This to me is a little bit of a grey area. How it works is people will run a program that will basically like and or comment on people's pictures all day long, 24 hours. So what happens is a bunch of people will get a notification that you've liked or commented on their content. They'll go back and follow you, maybe give you a few likes as well. So people that are using this sort of software are actually gaining genuine followers and genuine people, and the engagement is real. But I feel like the connection between the community and the influencer is not there because it was automated and there was no actual person behind it. I'm not going to read these quotes out, but this is just a few things that I found on the internet that are justifying why people are actually buying, why they should buy. It's just so hard to build an audience these days. But for me, being an influencer, I believe that true influence comes from long-term relationships, repartee, conversations, great content, sharing, being social and being real. So I just want everybody in the industry to be aware that all of these things are out there and you should avoid them like the plague, both for yourself and for any influencers that you plan on hiring. Because what's happening now is it is becoming a bit of an issue in the media. And I don't want people to see things like this and be totally put off Instagram and not want to work with Instagram as a platform or with influencers like myself. So some of the tools that are available for you guys if you are researching influencers, we can use Iconosquare and we can use Social Blade. Social Blade is great because you can actually look up any Instagram username. You don't have to be that person to access the analytics. It's got a few quite simple tools on there. You'll see it has a rolling month analysis of followers gained, and I'll give you a couple of examples of that. Iconosquare is also handy, but you would have to ask your potential influencer to provide these analytics and snapshots for you. The two that I get asked for the most recently when I posted my first picture, so how long I've been on Instagram, and also where my followers are from. And I just want to make a note of that first grid. I believe that most of my followers are from Australia. Because I live in Australia, I work probably 70% in Australia with Australian tourism, and I'm regularly featured by Australian Instagram accounts. From the information I've been given, this analytic only accounts for about 30% of my overall followers, because when Instagram was set up, they didn't have a tool to actually record where people were from. So I think it's okay to take this analytic or this snapshot off Instagram as you're thinking of hiring, but definitely take it with a grain of salt. I just wanted to show you very quickly what alarm bells would look like for me. This is from Social Blade, so this is something that you can look up any influencer and check their rolling month analysis. This is an influencer working here in Australia. I'm not going to name and shame, but you can see that they generally gain between 100 or a couple of hundred followers a day, but they had a particularly strong day and happened to gain 4,500. 4,500 is impossible unless you are actually featured exclusively by Instagram. No feature from any hub would get you that amount of followers in one day. Exceptions to the rule. Sorry, I went one too far. So exceptions for the rule, I can gain between 200 and 500 followers off a single feature if it's a very big account. An Instagram exclusive feature would net somebody a massive amount of followers. So if you're looking at someone and you're doing a little bit of research and you do see a spike, maybe check out the Instagram page to see if they've been featured or ask them. The Instagram suggested user list can account for somebody growing a large amount of followers every day for a couple of weeks. Generally, suggested users will rotate through for about 2 to 3 weeks. And just quickly on the sake of, on the topic of engagement, whether you're looking at the likes and the comments on each picture, the Explore page algorithm has changed very dramatically in the last 12 months. So if you do actually get through the algorithm and get onto the Explore page, it will make a massive difference to your engagement. At the moment, my lows can be as low as 4,000 and my highs can be as high as 12 or 13,000. So it can account for a discrepancy if you're just looking at averages. So things that you can look for, and this is the last one I promise, engagement, preferably look at comments because comments are very hard to fake. And look at the comments and make sure it's actually real people behind it. They're saying interesting things, they're engaging, your influencer is going back to them and there is a conversation happening. Growth over time or steady growth, to me that's a matter, and keep in mind guys, I hire a lot of Instagrammers myself when I'm doing project management, so these are the steps that I take as well when I'm thinking of putting somebody new on board. So I look at growth over time, and that can be as simple as just going onto Instagram and scrolling back for a few weeks, or even months, and seeing how their likes and comments have changed over time, and if it's been gradual and consistent, and comments and banter, to show that somebody is influential and they do have conversations with their followers and community. So I'm just going to end with 3 case studies, all of different size campaigns. This was a very recent job that I did in Austria. The reason I've chosen to talk about this one is because I had pretty bad weather in Austria. And as an influencer going in, I don't have the benefit of being able to shoot and wait for all of the great skies and moments and weather. So I have to go in and make the best of any situation, which I believe that I did in Austria. I was in Vienna and Innsbruck and Solden. So these are a couple of the shots that I took. Again, when you're working with an influencer, you're working with their style and their photography and how they're trying to get the engaged pictures for their community. So I shot some pretty pictures where you can't really tell what the weather is doing. I visited the Aquadome Hotel and Spa, which was just phenomenal. And I just knew that a picture like this is like a hero shot. It would do really well on Instagram. So I begged them to let me up on the roof to get this photograph. I also talked a little bit about the food, not just like this, but also I visited some markets. And I think my most liked shot from the campaign was punnets of strawberries, which I photographed at the markets in Vienna. I was looking for, again, hero shots, striking compositions. Although it was quite cloudy this day, I did wait for a little bit of blue sky to peek through and quickly snap a few shots of this gorgeous view from the glaciers of Solden. And finally, this was the view from Innsbruck. From a tourism perspective, this is not ideal, right? But for me, I think travel is all about taking out of it whatever life, whatever nature, whatever the landscape throws at you. So even though I didn't get to see the mountains on this particular day, I still thought it was beautiful, and it was what was there. And if I'm a tourist and I'm traveling and I'm paying my own money and going to that destination, there is a possibility that this could happen. So I think being able to use an influencer to show everything that's happening in the destination, it's organic, it's real, it's actually happening, it actually makes the conversations more interesting. And I had a lot of people commenting on this and saying that, pity about the cloud, it's still beautiful. People that had been there, people that said, oh, you should see it when it's beautiful. And I did go back the next day and it was beautiful and I got some much more scenic shots. So the sort of results that a campaign like this can net, this was a one-person campaign, just myself. I posted 40 shots for a total of almost 300,000 impressions. These are measurable likes and comments just on Instagram alone. I provided 80 plus images for the client's use on social media, and Visit Austria gained 1,000 new followers to their account that they can take away from the campaign. The next one was Handoff. I chose to talk about Handoff because it is a very interesting destination that I had never heard of. It's a German village in the Adelaide Hills in South Australia. I went out there, I guess I was expecting it to be more landscapey, and the sort of shots I envisioned taking were the one that you can see here. rolling hills and beautiful sunrise colours. But what ended up happening is I realised quite quickly that there weren't that many landscapes to capture in the destination, and it was about so much more. And something that I really took away from Handoff, this is a little bit of fall colours, I'm just going to skip through. Something that I really took away from Handoff is that there is such a focus on food and wine in that region. And I really fell in love with that aspect of the destination, probably because I'm a total foodie and I did used to be a chef. But I decided to focus on it with my Instagram posts, and it's not something that I do very often, but I was able to talk about all of the amazing food experiences out in that destination. And somehow, and I don't know exactly what the turning point was, we went foraging in the forest for mushrooms, which were prepared for us for breakfast and dinner by the Seasonal Garden Cafe. And from being in the forests and picking the mushrooms, we just got a real feeling of magic from the destination. And this is what ended up happening. It turned into forests and fairies and magic, and that's how I promoted Handoff. This was a small two-person campaign. This was myself and Jules Lynch. You saw her on a slide earlier. We posted 39 shots on a very small 4-day campaign. The budget came from the tourism operators, their little tourism board association, so it wasn't even an LTO budget. We got a total of over 250,000 Instagram impressions on the campaign, 100 images for the client's own use, and 400 new followers to Handoff South Australia. And I've saved the best till last, Alistair. This is Visit Gold Coast. Visit Gold Coast have done a very, very different initiative. This is something I hear from a lot of my clients. We just want to do something different. And even though I'm a purist and I do believe in simplicity with Instagram campaigns, this actually worked so well, and it was just such an honour to be a part of it. So basically we had 7 photo meets, we called them, 1 per month for 7 months on the Gold Coast. The main focus of it was to encourage locals to curate content in the area, use the hashtag Visit Gold Coast. We wanted lots of new content, and we also wanted to show people that there's more to the Gold Coast than just the beaches. So we obviously went to the theme parks. This is at Dreamworld. Obviously there was a little bit of beach work there. This is up at the Spit in Main Beach. We went to the classics like the Natural Bridge, but we also visited places like Lamington National Park. This is O'Reilly's at the Wild Bird Show. So we were showing people that there is other things to do on the Gold Coast rather than just going to the beach. And this is at Coran Cove. I visited this particular place with one of the Instagrammers, Sam Horeen from America, and I didn't even know that this place existed on the Gold Coast. So it really ticked all the boxes of what it wanted to do. This was a 7-month campaign, very unlike anything I've done before. We created 1,400 images for Visit Gold Coast for a total of 3.5 million total Instagram impressions, an audience of over 5 million, and a grand total of more than 36,000 followers to the Visit Gold Coast account over 7 months. Each photo meet, I'll just quickly add, had 25 members of the public that registered, myself co-hosting along with 1 invited guest Instagrammer from an international destination. So that's basically all I was going to talk about today. Hopefully I've inspired you a little bit on how exciting Instagram can be in destination marketing and how great Instagrammers are to work with. Thank you.
My head is still buzzing with all the tips and everything. I want to just print out your presentation and take it home and go over it slowly.
Luckily you can.
Yes, indeed. Looking at the time, I just want to open up the questions to the audience. I'm sure there are a few questions.
You can grab me at any point as well in the next 2 days, guys.
Lauren, great presentation. I just wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on Instagram advertising. Every time I see an ad in my feed, I go and check out the comments. Unfortunately, I don't have a budget that will allow me to go into that sort of thing. But what are your thoughts on that as a user? It has tended to, I guess, attract negative sort of feedback by users. But what are your thoughts on Instagram advertising?
As a very passionate Instagrammer, I can say that I saw the need for the platform to start turning a profit, and I am absolutely fine with the concept of advertising and in seeing ads in my feed. Unfortunately, it hasn't been done well by some people. So some of the content that I'm getting, it's not fun pictures. You know, I've had Philly cream cheese, you know, sort of commercial style shots. I think the potential is there. Maybe it needs to be monitored a lot more. But I think, as you said, you've seen some of the comments. Generally, it's negative. People are commenting on these posts, you know, F you, I don't want this stuff on my Instagram. I think that the budget is potentially spent better if you're using influencers, because again, they're bringing that content and they're bringing their own audience, and you know, there's a lot more that they're bringing for actually less money. But I think, you know, if you have the budget, it can be valuable, but be very conscious of the kind of content that you're putting out there if you're using advertising.
Any more questions?
Hi, Lauren. Loved your talk.
Thanks.
I'm over here. Cuckoo. She comes on.
Hi!
Hi there.
No, she's there.
And I've got my glasses on
I'm
and
really
everything.
good at projecting my voice. Can you tell us a bit more about those two other platforms you mentioned, Trover and...
Stella. I always keep an eye on new platforms, keeping in mind that I prefer still photography over video. I know that Periscope and Snapchat and vlogging and YouTube are doing really well, but for me, I'm looking at platforms that are predominantly stills. Trover and Stella both reached out to me independently. They have great community leaders. They're both growing platforms. They're both becoming more populated. Trover, it's not quite there yet, but Stella is definitely a winner. I think watch this space on that platform. You're basically making a little book, and in that book you can have text, pictures, little videos, clickable web links, and they're very engaging and fun to look through. And I think for somebody that will actually flick through 30 pages of content from a destination, they're going to take more out of that than just quickly scrolling past an Instagram post. So Stella reminds me of early days of Instagram, and Trover's good because it's very searchable. Their geotagging function is amazing. So two that I'm investing a little bit of time and resources into. Yes.
Hi, thanks for that. I was interested to know how you would define success in the use of an Instagrammer from a client perspective. So you talked about a few case studies there where you've got different numbers of followers for the client over time. What sort of numbers should you be aiming for in terms of getting, new followers from a campaign like that? And do you have any figures on how sustainable are those followers once you've gone, you know, over a period of time?
Yep.
I mean, are the clients keeping them?
Clients are definitely keeping the followers. I've never seen ever a distinct drop-off. For clients that have a great Instagram account, like Tourism Queensland, they can get a huge number of followers from a campaign. I think the most I've seen is a few thousand just off a single campaign added on to Tourism Queensland's huge Instagram account. I don't know, I think for me personally, when I'm hiring Instagrammers, I want to see at least a couple of thousand likes on every picture. I want to make sure that they're happy and confident posting at least 2 to 4 times a day. I think that the value lies in repetition and consistency. As anyone who knows Instagram is aware of, we are scrolling past content very quickly, so it needs to be very engaging, it needs to be in the stream regularly. I guess a benchmark for me is that somebody would need to be getting at least, say, 1,000 likes on a picture, 3 to 4 times a day, 50 plus comments, plus be bringing other social media platforms to the table as well.
Great, thank you so much. Looking at the time, hopefully you have some chance later to ask questions to Lauren. Thank you so much, Lauren, for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.